What is up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for turning to Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Stephen Thompson, here with another Inside Pitt post-game report, the first of its kind from Acrisure Stadium, right after the Pitt Panthers beat down on the Wofford Terriers and won 45-7 in their season opener. They're 1-0, took care of business, and after every Pitt game this year, I'll be coming at you with a little breakdown, a little bit of what I saw from the stadium or what I was watching, and what I saw from the Panthers that week. So we'll start with this one right here. And there's not much to complain about after a 45-7 win, especially against an FCS opponent. You kind of figured this was the kind of game that Pitt needed, Pitt wanted to get off on the right foot, but also what you expected, given the talent disparity. Still, I think the offense found its footing really quickly. It was a slow start. That first drive was not pretty. Certainly, Phil Dracovic taking a bad sack, making some misses with his throws, but they quickly rebounded. Dracovic looked smooth and comfortable for most of the game. I loved the use of his legs, the way he ran around, not just rushing to gain yards, but rushing to extend plays and find different opportunities for his receivers. He created a lot of downfield passing opportunities, I thought, with his legs, just extending plays, keeping it alive, and giving guys time to get open. And then he spread the ball around. He got a ton of guys involved. I believe he completed passes. Each of his 17 passes went to 9 different receivers. It was up and down the depth chart, which, by the way, I mean, we've heard a lot about how deep Pitt is, especially I think of, the tight end room and receivers as well. But that actually played out on the field. You can say it's an FCS opponent, but this is all the data we've got on this team so far, and they really lived up to what they'd been telling us, that this team is deep, that this team can throw to just about anyone, and that it's not just about, we heard a lot about Bub Means, we heard a lot about Kanata Mumfield, but we heard a lot about Gavin Bartholomew, but it's Jake Renda, Malcolm Epps, Carter Johnson, uh, Dejon Reynolds had a couple of catches as well. Sibo Flemister caught a bunch out of the backfield. Rodney was even doing his part in the passing game as well. Rodney Hammond. So I think you can feel really comfortable that there isn't one guy that defenses can take away and then it's over for Pitt. They have a ton of opportunities to, you know, really get guys involved, and defenses can't just take one guy away and, shut down the Pitt offense. And I thought the offensive line started slow as well. I thought their first few drives were not very impressive, but they quickly picked it up, and kept Phil really clean. Part of that was his ability to avoid pressure and to stay in the pocket and be, calm and smooth and poised, like Pat Narduzzi said, like I referenced a little bit earlier. But I thought they really came along strong and they finished the game really well. So that was definitely a feather in their cap. And there's an offensive line with some new faces in it and with some new pieces there. So, there it will be a bit of a learning curve, especially when you think about the fact that Ryan Jacoby went down with an injury pretty late in camp, about midway through. So they were kind of learning on the fly, getting new starters in there, and they already had new faces that they were trying to integrate, some guys that they were elevating into new starting roles. So, I think those are my biggest takeaways, that this offensive line is going to grow, and then that the aerial attack is real and it's effective, and that stuff we'd heard about the deep passing game, I think is real and will definitely be effective. They didn't take as many shots downfield, I thought they would, but I think those will come, and I think the more that they kind of exercise that running game, that they keep throwing these short passes, they'll be able to set up some of those deeper looks, especially when you got speedy guys like Bub Means running downfield. He definitely can fly. So I'll be interested to see how that kind of plays out when the competition takes a step up, like against Cincinnati next week, and then West Virginia obviously the week after, before they get into ACC play. Looking at the defensive side of the ball, there's nothing to complain about. I mean, they were dominant, all over. Their lone touchdown was given up on what probably should have been an offensive pass interference call against Rylan Gandy and the rest of the third string defense. So, but they held Wofford to -1 rushing yards, 126 total yards. The front seven was dominant. DeAndre Jules, the hype is real. Deion Hayes, the hype is real. David Green, Devin Danielson did their thing. I think they're still, maybe looking for one more defensive end to really step up. I thought Nate Temple was fine. Kai Johnson was okay, but, not necessarily dominant like, Deslin Alexander could have been at certain times, and certainly not as good as Hayes was. But Hayes, Jules, Green, Danielson, those guys are living up to the hype. I also will be curious. Sean Fitzsimmons did not play in this game. I think he's a redshirt freshman with a ton of potential. and a really talented guy. So I'll be interested to see, if and when he comes back. He did dress, but just didn't play in the game. So I'll be interested to see what he kind of adds and how he keeps that deep defensive line room even deeper. The secondary was really not tested at all. I mean, Wofford just couldn't. They couldn't really do much of anything on offense. But even when they did try to, throw to MJ Devonshire's way, you saw a lot of what Pat Narduzzi talked about. You don't want to throw that guy's way if you're an opposing offense. He blanketed guys all game, so he was another star, I thought. But yeah, everything else was real smooth. The defensive performance that they put on was as good as you hope for. Wofford really got more than half of their yards on one play, and like I said, probably should have been a push off, an OPI call against the one receiver who went for that long touchdown at the end of the game, I think with under 2 minutes left. So vibes are really good heading into next week. Cincinnati comes to town for a 6:30 kickoff at Acrisure Stadium, a Big 12 opponent. Starts a run of, their next 11 games come against power conference opponents. So pick out their cupcake out of the way early, and it only gets harder from here. But the competition, it takes a step up, but Pitt took care of business and got off on the right foot in 2023. And that's all you can say right now. They look good right now. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, and especially how that Cincinnati game goes when they're faced with a much more difficult test. But with that, I'm headed out of here. Thanks for tuning in to another Inside Pitt post-game report. I'll be coming at you, like I said, every week after the Panthers play. Make sure to like this video and to subscribe to us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@InsideThePanthers, and find all of our reporting from Pitt games and practices at InsideThePanthers.com. My name's Stephen Thompson. Thanks for tuning in to another Inside Pitt report. I'll see you next time.